Hello you wonderful, gorgeous, fantastic, very attractive person you, and thank you for joining me for yet another spiffing episode of Tech Spurt Weekly, the only weekly tech news show that still thinks the word muff is hysterically funny. Muff. And I hope you're doing lovely. I'm doing absolutely fine. I mean, the ridiculous amount of snow we've had this week meant, unfortunately, that my alcohol supply delivery was cancelled. So I've pretty much run dry up in here by now. I've basically got a 1 litre bottle of my Mr. Muscle homebrew left, and that's pretty much it. We're talking serious dregs. But it's absolutely okay. It's fine. It's fine. We're going to get through this. I'm not panicking. I'm not panicking whatsoever. 100% stable. It's fine. So anyway, I'm just going to go quickly have a bit of a dig around under the kitchen sink, see if there's any supplies that may have been pushed to the very back that I might have missed. In the meantime, roll credits, I guess. Tech Spurt Weekly. Oh, Flash, you cheeky f***er. Oh, reaches the parts that other disinfectants can't. Yeah, that'll definitely work. Right, so what was I doing? So this week's big shiny launch thing was the Xiaomi Mi 11, which already launched at the end of 2020 over in China, but it's finally spread its wings and come sailing over the sea. No, that's mixed metaphors. God damn it, I suck at this. The Mi 11 is one of the first big flagship phones of 2021, rocking Qualcomm's mighty new Snapdragon 888, a Quad HD AMOLED screen with 120Hz refresh, a 108 megapixel primary camera, and lots of other fancy bollocks like that. And it's not as stupidly huge as the Mi 10T Pro, so that's also nice. It's €750 around these parts. It's more pricey than back in China, but it's still cheaper than Samsung's Galaxy S21, which didn't pack quite so premium specs. In fact, the S21 feels more like a mid-ranger, like the S20 Fan Edition. If you've actually seen my full review, you'll know all about that already anyway. But anyway, my full Xiaomi Mi 11 review also went live on Monday, so definitely go check that out if you haven't already, or, you know, don't. It's a free world. It's absolutely fine. You don't have to watch it, but please do. Please do watch it. You don't want Uncle Spurt drinking this for the rest of his life, do you? And as far as tech news goes this week, that's pretty much about it, to be honest. This week's been about as exciting as a Gwyneth Paltrow documentary on dead badgers, which, by the way, I would not be surprised to see Netflix commission, because during lockdown alone, I've watched at least 24 shows on that friggin' service that have been at least as bad, if not worse. We all scoffed at youth hostling with the Chris Eubank, or whatever the Alan Partridge idea was, but you know what, that actually sounds alright. That's how low our standards have dropped now. In fact, we should probably make that a new segment on this show. Best idea for a new Netflix hit. So definitely smash your ideas down in the comments below. One kind of half-ish, not very interesting story this week was the rumours of Apple pressing on with its very own version of Google Glass. Apparently, Cook & Co have teamed up with TSMC, that's the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, try saying that 10 times after 3 pints of kitchen detergent, to produce super thin and low-powered OLED screens that would fit inside of a frame and then sit on your mug. Now, TSMC already spaffs out those A-series chipsets that Apple bungs into all of its iPhones, so it should be interesting to see what this collaboration comes up with. Hopefully, Apple's version of Google Glass will be alright, but don't expect to see it on shelves until 2022 at the very earliest. And I mean, considering how long we've been waiting for Apple's version of the Tile Bluetooth tracker now, you might want to push your expectations even further back than that. Maybe in this lifetime, who knows? And like all Apple products, it's usually worth leaving it at least a generation or two before you sort of jump on board, to avoid the quirky early versions. You know, the first version of it will probably, I don't know, pop your eyeballs or give you face aids or something. Seriously, that's about it for this week. Nothing else particularly thrilling, which means that unfortunately now it's time for the part of the show that would make Conor McGregor shit his pants and flee in terror. It's viewer comments. Viewer comments. So let's start the show's viewer comments this week with a brief correction and an apology after I f***ed up a basic news thing last week. Gaff of the week. So if you recall last week's show, this is what I said in a jazzy flashback form. And also, impending launch alert, Huawei is going to be revealing its fresh new Mate X2 foldable phone on January the 22nd. January the 22nd. Apparently I seem to have completely forgotten how time actually works. January the 22nd, we're already in February, you massive wang. Life is advancing at an all too rapid state, and before you know it, we'll all be buried in a box 6 feet underground. But anyway, thanks to everyone who pointed out my little slip of the tongue in last week's video comment. Very much appreciated. Love you guys. Next comment is from Neil. Where did you get the t-shirt from, mate? I'm assuming you mean this t-shirt from last week's comments. I actually got that from Frenchy Disneyland, back when it was still alright to, you know, get on a plane or a train and go to other countries. So I got that last time I was in Disneyland about 2-3 years back, and now I just like to slip it on occasionally because it still smells of happiness and other people's body odor as well when I brushed up against them. Remember brushing up against other people? Next up, Zachary says, you've got plenty of talent, your liver is an absolute champ. If drinking single malt every day was easy, everyone would be doing it. That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it's not the drinking of the single malt that's the talented part. It's the then contributing just about enough in your home life and at work in order to not get sacked/kicked out on the street. Next up, Fountain Pen Journey says, glad you sorted out your audio issues. Next week you could film Tech Spurt Weekly using a 2 megapixel macro lens so smartphone manufacturers can see just how bad they are. I mean, Christ, if I filmed this with a macro lens, I would basically just be a fuzzy, blurry mess. Oh, hang on, I see what your cunning plan is. More macro lens shenanigans. Kevin says, I have a budget of between £1 and £3,000. Any chance of a macro camera comparison on every phone inside my budget? I mean, seriously, what have I ever done to you, man? But you know what, yeah, you know what? Your wish is my command. That's absolutely fine. We'll do it right now, in fact. So this is the Moto G9 Power, and the macro camera sucks balls. This here is the Poco M3 and the macro camera sucks ass. This is the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9T and that macro lens sucks hot taint. And this right here is the Oppo A53 and that macro lens sucks massive amounts of donkey dick. I'm going to stop there actually because you're probably noticing a bit of a pattern developing. Basically, macro lenses. Next comment, Etienne says, that lockdown maths teaching sounds like an idea. If daddy starts on the 8% beer at 12 PM and has bleary red eyes at 4 PM, how many whiskies will it take to level him out, and at which time will he fall asleep on the toilet? Sure you're working. God, you know you've had a good session when you fall asleep on the toilet. I mean, thankfully that's only happened to me once before. That was back in my uni days, a long friggin' time ago now. Me and my mates have been drinking since I think it was about 7 AM or something like that. It was like a stupid idea. Definitely not recommended. Hey kids, let's jump out of bed and immediately start swigging back. I think it was banana flavoured rum. From the local pound stretch or whatever. Oh, I was absolutely smashed by breakfast, and then of course come like 10 AM or whatever, I had to go straight to the toilets because I knew I was just going to puke my guts up everywhere. But I was so absolutely mortal that I didn't do what normal people would do, which is open up the toilet and then puke into it. I decided instead to sit on the toilet and puke onto the floor. And that's the exact state that I then regained consciousness in around, I think it was about like 1 PM, 2 PM. By this point, I just slumped against the wall of the toilet with just vomit all over my shoes, my pants, the floor, just frickin' everywhere. And then to my eternal shame, I just basically wiped off the bit on my shoes with some toilet paper and then fled the scene, man, and just left it for some other poor, unfortunate bugger to deal with. I mean, can you imagine just needing to, you know, empty your bowels or something, opening up the toilet door, and it looking like a scene from the friggin' Exorcist? Why am I even telling this story? I don't know. Maybe I just had to get it off my chest like a sort of confessional after, how many, 18 years, 19 years, however long it's been. Anyway, thankfully I'm much better behaved these days, so it's all good. Next up, James says, my missus has made me only watch your videos when our 2-year-old daughter is nowhere near me as she's picking up bad words. Eesh, looks like my homeschooling has extended beyond my own sprog. I can only apologise profusely. Seriously, I really hope your daughter isn't now running about the place screaming, donkey dicks, donkey dicks. I've got to admit, like, my own daughter is about the house pretty much 24 hours a day now. So I do struggle to keep my own language PG friendly as well. I'm certainly making liberal use of words like friggin' and golly gosh, especially as occasionally she'll just be on a random Zoom call with her teacher and the rest of the class, and the last thing I want is for her to get expelled because somebody's yelled cockwomble really loud in the background. I've got an update from Graham in South Africa where booze was recently outlawed during lockdown. Thankfully that ban has been lifted. So he says, yay, the ban was lifted, so I ran to the booze shop and got a few bottles of cheap whiskey. I've not been sober for the past 5 days. Do not blame you at all, sir. Good idea stocking up. yeah, you might want to like hollow out the walls and just cram a few bottles in there just to be sure. Next up, Mash4 says, I'm a dub, I live in Dublin, and I hate Mrs. Brown's Boys. Thank you for hating it. It's shit. I mean, I'm always happy to hear from other critics of Mrs. Brown's Boys. Got to admit, I think it's probably the worst thing on TV right now, and that's saying something. I think it's about as funny as finding blood in your piss, frankly. Next up, Jessica says, yeah, we really need air charge because it's so hard to plug your phone in. Yeah, agreed, 100%, massive chore. This is, of course, referring to the Mi Air Charge, which Xiaomi is showing off as a sort of concept tech. And basically, if you missed last week's show, and if you did, you're breaking my heart, man. You basically just slap a massive box down somewhere in your house, and then it can beam electricity to your smartphone and keep it charged all day long. And putting my sports hat on just for a moment, I mean, I guess it could be good for your battery's long-term health, because at least if you're just trickle charging it, you know, whenever you're in general proximity to this massive box thing, that means you're not plugging it in to charge it up all night long, which means therefore you're not overcharging it or anything like that. So yeah, it could be good. On the other hand, I've got to admit, I'm quite wary about having a massive box with 140 antennas in it somewhere in my household that is then beaming electricity to a device that is literally millimeters away from my nutsack. But, I mean, whatever. I've been cold and dead down there for years now anyway. And next up, our great mate Morel Mushy Peas is back. He says, my Whippet likes to charge himself on the wall sofa and then discharge a static tail boost on me. Christ, that sounds painful. Jay Smith says, it seems I've accidentally clicked on a booze spurt video once again. I mean, you can pretend it was accidental, but let's face it, you know you love this hot content. Next up, Zach says, we're going to see a new review of the Nokia soon. You know what? I've been pestering the Nokia PRs for like 2 months now, I think it was, for a review sample of the Nokia 5.4. I've started pestering them for the new 1 series as well. But you know what? Last night I went on the Nokia website, I saw that the Nokia 5.4 was in stock, and so I just bloody ordered one. That should be arriving any day now, so expect a full unbox and then hopefully followed shortly after by an in-depth review as well. This is how much I love you people. I could have spent that money on a nice bit of single malt or several crates of beer, but no, I spent it on a bloody smartphone. Hope you're feeling that love, yeah? Next up, Charlie Farley says, I used to love Jimmy's and the Cooperage on the Quayside as well. Cooperage rings a bell as well, but my memory of back then is so hazy. I remember distinctly going into the places, you know, what they smelled like, how sticky the carpets were, all that good stuff. I can't remember the bloody names. I remember there was one that we used to go to quite a lot called Flynn's, which I think did test tube shots for like 80p or whatever, and they were, you know, like bright orange, bright green, whatever. Christ knows how much alcohol was actually in them, but certainly they used to screw with your brain quite nicely. And we'd also often head to Pravda as well, purely because one of my mates from school was a bartender there, which is great because that meant you get extra shots in your drinks, which is exactly what we all needed as, you know, 17-year-old pissheads in a city where you could get a triple vodka shot for 80p anyway. Next up, Danner says, how do you like to have your beer, cold or at room temperature? I mean, I definitely prefer my beer cold. You know, I used to drink a lot of lager, that needs to be served cold really, otherwise it's a bit bleh. But you know what, I'm not fussy. I will happily quaff a room temperature ale. Bit of tepid bitter, whatever, do not mind. And also quaff, that's a great word, isn't it? Quaff. Quaff. Love it. Next up, Mubashir, apologies again if I've completely mauled the pronunciation there, says, for all the morning about Motorola releasing too many handsets, I wish they would go more global. I can't get my hands on one here in Pakistan. Really surprising to hear that actually, so it'd be interesting to hear what the major budget brands are. I used to assume that Motorola would be quite big though. I guess the Nokia still quite big in Pakistan. Be good to hear anyway, surely out of curiosity. Next up, not quite a which celebrity do I look like this week, but Randor Tech Info says, forget these blind bastards, you're 90s Clooney all the way, you gem of the interwebs. Well, that's most definitely far too kind, sir. I did always aspire to be like Clooney, you know, I had my hair short from dusk till dawn style. I wanted to get the awesome neck tattoo and all that good shit. But of course I was too much of a pussy. On the unfortunate subject of celebrity impersonation, David suggested, can we do Shane McGowan please? I mean, that one's actually probably fairly easy. And another suggestion, Lee says, Chris doing Louis Spence would make my life complete. Doing as in impersonator, not anything else. Thanks for the clarification, Lee. I mean, I'm not even going to try to do anything energetic like that, lad. I'd probably just end up with a burst pancreas or something. Next up, Mountain Goat Yeti says, Stadia will go the way of your hair, Chris, and disappear. Come on, man, that's just mean. But funny, fair f***s. And next up, Rich says, I think we should have a downed pint on the weekly roundup for every new Nokia and Motorola handset that's released. Actually, none at all this week, shockingly. Though, hold that thought, because next week, there is actually a Motorola launch happening Tuesday, February the 16th. That's February, not January. So yes, definitely expect some more hot Motorola and Nokia action next week here on Tech Spurt. I'll have to get some proper booze in because this detergent's starting to play havoc with my kidneys. Well, actually, I should probably point out, it's not actually detergent or anything like that, kiddies. It's actually just water with a little bit of food colouring in it. The magics of special effects. But anyhow, a massive thank you to everyone who commented last week. Apologies if I didn't get around to your comments again this week, but please do leave them down below. Whatever you want, questions, comments, feel free to call me a baldy or a twat or whatever. I'm more than used to it. Next week, as I say, we've got that Motorola launch happening on the Tuesday. Even if I don't get anything up on the Tuesday, I'll at the very least cover it in Tech Spurt Weekly next Friday. So please do join me once again. Be a big old warm group hug of tech news and hot bants. This bants is on fire, yo. Yeah, so thank you very much again. I never know how to end these videos. They always just kind of peter out. As you tell me, I'm just gonna shut the f*** up now. So have a great weekend, everyone. Love you. Bye.